Alright, all you moviegoers out there, welcome back to the Indy Radio Arcade. And yeah, the person who we were talking about before, who was complaining about the heat, was none other than Steve over there, the guy who announces the show in, which I keep forgetting his name because it changes every single week, but either way, he was the one complaining about the heat strangling him like a full Nelson and decided to tap out, so we had to move the show to today. So, if anybody complains why in the world their week is starting off with 8-bit action, blame Steve. Blame Steve. But besides that little bit of the note that we wanted to point out outside of that somebody from the intro, I think it's time for us to go into another classic film reel edition of the 3MR. And the 3MR for this month, folks, will kick off officially the Police Summer Shootout Series Part 2. Or Part 2. I just like the word Part 2 better from the whole MTV I love the 80s and I love the 90s. Oh, what's that VH1? Oh, VH1. Thank you, Maestro. And the movie to kick off the Police Summer Shootout Series Part 2 for this year would be none other than the classic film known as Training Day. And this movie, the meat and potatoes of it is that a rookie police officer that goes by the name of Jake Hoyt would have to undergo police training alongside with veteran cop known as Alfonso Harris in order to become a member of the LAPD. And along the way learns that sometimes the streets are just a little bit meaner than one would expect from behind a desk. And the reason why in the world we love this movie so much, my God. Usually we say to start off the movie with the soundtrack. The soundtrack for this movie was awesome enough as is, but when you add in this star-studded cast that they had for this movie, it was absolutely insane. And to run down a couple of people who was featured in this movie besides, of course, Ethan Hawke and Denzel Washington, you also have Eva Mendes featured in this movie, Cliff Curtis, natural-born bad guy in this said film, but also, and get this folks, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Macy Gray. You also even had Tom Berenger featured in this film, and even uncredited during the sequences during this movie, but he was featured during Jimmy Kimmel Live saying he was a part of this film. Terry Crews was featured in this film as well, and would say during the movie, or more or less during the Jimmy Kimmel show, that he believed his performance ruined the movie, because he was supposed to be the big, bad, tough guy during this film, but he believed since he was in White Chicks, and a lot of people say, oh, that was the guy from White Chicks, that ruined the film. No, it didn't. The fact that he was featured in it was absolutely awesome in our minds. And another thing that I loved about this film was all of the different serious moments that was pulled from this said film, and the fact of how things could turn immediately dark within 60 seconds with Denzel Washington. And like we said before with prior movies featuring Denzel Washington in it, the man is such a great actor that he can play the best bad guy or the greatest good guy you ever known. And in this movie, he played one of the greatest bad guys I have ever seen since Nino Brown in New Jack City. And that's saying a lot. And one of my favorite lines from this movie, besides the usual one where they say, King Kong ain't got nothing on me, has to be the one part of the movie where Denzel Washington, when the things were going completely south, and with Exhibit, by the way, Exhibit was also featured in this said film, when they were trying to figure out what happened to the guy that they were talking to after he got shot, Denzel Washington would say, hold on, let me quarterback this situation here. Let me quarterback this thing. Now let me tell you what happened. He went in first, that guy went in second, he got shot, rookie shot the guy, and that's what happened. Now, that's not verbatim for what happened and what the Denzel Washington said in the film, but nevertheless, the fact that he said, let me quarterback this moment so I can actually figure everything out, was absolutely magical for me in the movie because I would use that line whenever I come up with a cool plan for anything in life. Now, the one thing I will say that I did not like about this movie, and we rarely bring up parts that we don't like about films, but in this case we will, because some of the deleted scenes that they did include in this film, I think it would have been perfect for them to add in to perfectly wrap up how the end of the movie would have happened. And also, the one scene they were talking about Spooky during this film, and if you don't know who Spooky is, definitely go back online on the DVD and watch the deleted scenes about Spooky, and it'll tell you how good of an actor Denzel Washington is, and also how twisted the streets truly can get at a moment's notice. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, and seeing the fact that we don't know how to review movies along the lines of Siskel and Ebert or any of those other famous movie reviewers that you know of out there, we say this. If you want to go ahead and watch a movie where a young rookie tries to learn from the best only to figure out that he's the worst, and in the same moment trying to get himself out of the situation that he's been trying to train for all his life, for everything to go right down the drain, or close to it as it circles it in the darkness that he's invoked himself with, being involved with this veteran police officer who's more crooked than an Etch-a-Sketch line, then I recommend you go out there and watch that flick. And trust me, folks, from start to finish, you will absolutely love this said film. And I guess with that said, folks, we might as well head back into music, and when we return, we'll be back with more of the Indie Radio Arcade, right after a word from our sponsors. So don't run out of quarters just yet, folks, and stay tuned.